Okay, we are recording now. So like I said, thank you again for attending the meeting tonight. We can hold these weekly if we need to. Generally speaking, usually after the first one, everybody kind of gets the quirks out, and any questions or things you do not understand, we can usually go over in the first week, and then we can go from a case-to-case basis. So if someone needs to meet with me, they can, or usually I'm really quick, usually through email or text message and things like that too. So the first thing is I'm sharing. Can everybody see my screen? Just kind of give me a nod. Okay. So I've got it on the course itself, and I have it loaded in the start here. Now after next week, I'll have it where it automatically enters into the weekly modules, so you won't have to bypass and go through that. It'll just open right up to the modules. The first thing I want to point out is our syllabus, which I already have pulled up. If you'll notice, this Summer 3 is a 4-week course. So there's a lot of information packed into these 4 weeks. So especially when you get to the calendar, kind of like, oh wow, that's a lot of information. But we are putting 16 weeks worth of content into 4 weeks. But I hope if you've had a chance to look at Blackboard, you've seen it's pretty much laid out and it's there and it's open, so you can kind of move it. You can move ahead. You can't trail behind, but you can move ahead a little bit as you need to. The main thing that I want to point out in the course, in the syllabus, is these are your assignments. These are the majority of the assignments we will have for the course, and then your grading scale. So make sure you know at a 92 is an A for this course. And then any other institutional requirements, things like that, they're all listed here as well, so you can look at that. The next thing is the course calendar. If you look, I have everything divided into 4 weeks. We will be covering most of the chapters in this, and I'll tell you about one particular next week that we'll get to that's kind of an iffy chapter, but I've put a lot of supplemental material for you because the law has changed since this textbook was published. And this textbook just came out in 2015, so it hasn't been that long ago. But you'll see I have the topics, so this is kind of like what we're going to be talking about this week. Usually they're going to be, you're going to have to read the textbook. I usually put a PowerPoint. I don't do a lecture over any of these chapters. They're usually, for most chapters, there is a supplemental PowerPoint that you can view as you read the chapter. But I do try to post as many videos that I can to help you understand the content a little bit better, to get a different perspective of what the law is saying. And then in this column, you will have all of your assignments. And there will usually be quite a few assignments each week, as well as a quiz for each chapter. Almost every chapter has a quiz. So I'll stop right there. Is there any questions over the syllabus or the course calendar? Everybody okay? Okay. So we'll move along through there. Make sure, please, 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 look at these VoiceThread tutorials. We will be using VoiceThread extensively in this class, and you have to be able to correctly submit an assignment through VoiceThread. You cannot go through like the Eagle app VoiceThread. You can't go through this app to post your VoiceThreads for this course. You may post them there, but then they won't be submitted and I can't grade them. You'll actually have to go through the link, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes once we start looking at week 1. Zoom tutorial, so everybody was able to find Zoom that's here. They have created a new Zoom app on the Eagle page, so that makes it really nice. And then we'll start looking at week 1. But if you look over here at this left hand, I will post assignments. Announcements. I usually probably give you a couple announcements a week, more of a reminder than anything, unless something comes up. You can see that, but I also have it go directly to your email, so you usually get an email. I've sent out one this morning, so you probably got that one, and then I sent one out at the beginning of the weekend to let you know I'd already opened the course. But I will try to send out a couple a week, so you'll see those there. This is another link to your course calendar syllabus. Each of our weekly content modules you'll find here. And there will be one discussion board we'll use. Everything else for discussion we will use VoiceThread for. And then just here's some tools. This is where you can check your grades, send an email, other tools, or any help that you may need. Now, I am not an IT expert, so if Blackboard is doing something funky or VoiceThread is doing something funky, I cannot help you on those kind of things, unless it has to do specifically with the course. We would just have to call Blackboard or let someone else know. All right, so let's look at the week 1. Now, every one of these modules will be due on Sunday by 11:59 p.m. So everything in week 1 is going to be due this following Sunday, and so forth. So technically, the course ends on Friday, but I give you till Sunday because I don't have to have grades turned in until Tuesday. So I give you an extra 2 days at the end of the course to kind of make sure we've got everything turned in. But let's look at week 1. So our first assignment in week 1 is where you are to create our own VoiceThread. So if you're going to create, so there's one about me, and then this is a video that you can watch about creating VoiceThreads. But I want to show you to make sure everybody's clear. If I go into click to create my own, and it may let me, it may not. I've got it on student edition, so we'll see. No, it's not going to let me. Oh, well, maybe it'll let me go over here. Hang on. Let me try that again. It's not going to let me go that way. Hang on, sorry. Okay. So this is, I'm going to create, well, like I said, each week you will have a VoiceThread discussion board that you'll need to submit one to. So for instance, I probably have one of mine on here somewhere. Okay, so here's my introduction. So I had created this VoiceThread, so I already had it here. But if I didn't, I would actually go up here and hit create new VoiceThread, and I could upload a PowerPoint. So if you want to go ahead and put your PowerPoint together, and you can save it to the class VoiceThread, then go here and click. So now I have to submit assignment. So this is that blue submit assignment link, and you want to share with class. There is one assignment that we will be completing that you will not share with the class because you don't want all your hard work to go to waste and everybody else can see kind of what you did. But there's specific directions for that. So you just hit share with class, submit, and then assignment is submitted. Now I'll be able to grade that. And then let's go, hang on, if it'll get us out of here. I don't know why it won't get me out of here. Just go back in again. Where y'all are on mute, it's so quiet. I feel like I'm talking to myself. Okay, so back in chapter 1. Let me show you chapter 4, kind of what this looks like when you are a student. So chapter 3, we have a case brief assignment, which I'll talk about that in just a minute, but I want to kind of get over these VoiceThread ones. On chapter 4, this is where you will actually post your discussion. So you actually click on this link here, And then I have specific questions, and you'll see a lot of these throughout. So I have, here's the directions for what you need to do. So you will need to either do a written text or verbal. You can even do a video. It's fine, however you prefer. And so you will answer this question here, and then you'll respond to at least one of your classmates as well. So you'll answer this one, and so you can either, you can type, you can record, you can do a video, you can telephone in, which most of you won't need to telephone in. And so if I just, I'm not going to make a comment, but, and then on question 2, I am going to answer this question. And then, like I said, I'm going to comment on my other classmates. Once I've commented on my other classmates, then I can click my submit assignment link. Or I can go ahead and, actually I think I can go ahead and leave those 2 comments, and then I'm going to have to put forth another. Now I can reply, so Ashlyn here has already posted one, so I can reply to Ashlyn, and I can reply to her in any of these ways as well. So that would be how I reply. Actually, just click on their link, and then I can reply. So I can reply to Alyssa's and so forth. And then that's the blue submit assignment. So I'm just going to get out of there and get back here. Okay, any questions on the submit assignment for VoiceThread? Okay, don't get caught up. I can send little reminders out. So if on Saturday, usually I will, if you had created one but it hasn't been submitted, you may get an email from VoiceThread saying you need to submit this assignment. If you get one of those, that means it has not been submitted for me to grade. You need to go back in there, go through the link on Blackboard, and hit that blue submit assignment link. Otherwise, they will count as zeros. Even if you did them, we've got to get them submitted. I can't grade them. It won't let me do anything. I can't put it into Blackboard unless you've hit that submit assignment link. Let's see here. Some other things. You'll have a case brief. I think you have 2 of those that you'll have to do. I've given you a case that you need to read, and then there's specific questions that you'll answer about that. Each module will also give you a self-check quiz, and I highly, highly, highly recommend you take those before you take the quiz. These self-check quizzes do not count against your grade, and you can take them as many times as you want. So I highly recommend you take those. All of our quizzes are timed. You only have 30 minutes to take those quizzes. Like I said, so you'll see I have a things to do, so kind of like a step-by-step process of what you need to do for each of the chapters. Within the chapter resources or some more resources or other websites that you may see, or links to things that I've already put in within here. And then there's a PowerPoint. Here is a couple of videos for you to watch. That's another one there, and so forth. Any questions over anything I've talked about so far? Okay, so that kind of gives you week 1. We're kind of doing chapter 2, 3, and 4. You've got an internet, a scavenger hunt. So you'll kind of go through it, some specific places within the internet that I want you to look at. You will learn about the history of the law with special education and how it came about and how it's transformed to where it is today, and it's still changing. And then our first major law in special ed, which is IDEA, which is Individuals with Disability Education Act. We will finish week 1 with IDEA. So you'll hear people call it IDEA or IDEA. Most of the time you'll hear me say IDEA. And that is really the major governing body for students with disabilities. And then in week 2, you'll get into Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. We'll talk about the Americans with Disability Act, and then the elementary and secondary education. These are other 3 major laws that govern students with disabilities. And the thing I want to quickly talk about Chapter 7. Chapter 7, before this, or actually when this textbook was being written, it was ESEA, which is the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, was going through a revision. You may know ESEA as No Child Left Behind. It's went through many iterations, but at the time it was No Child Left Behind. So your textbook still talks about No Child Left Behind. But No Child Left Behind was reauthorized by President Obama to Every Student Succeeds Act, so ESSA. ESSA. They're actually working on a new revision of this textbook. I think it'll be out in the fall, or it may even be after Christmas, that actually has that Chapter 7 has been changed. So you don't have a quiz for this chapter, mainly because a lot of the information has to do with No Child Left Behind, and that law is completely different than the ESSA law. But what I've done is put lots of information in here for you to read about ESSA so you can understand more about Every Student Succeeds Act. And then you will have a discussion board, but there is no quiz for this chapter. Like I said, mainly because the No Child Left Behind. I even put a note in here. So just make sure you read over it, because I want you to know the history of the elementary and secondary education and actually what that means and the purpose of it. But it's actually has been replaced with ESSA. Okay, let's see here. Week 3, we get into some major components of IDA. What you'll hear called FAPE, Free Appropriate Public Education. Every student is entitled to a free, appropriate public education, especially students with disabilities. So Chapter 8 really hits on that. Chapter 9 talks about identification and assessment and evaluation of students with disabilities. Chapter 10, we get into discussion of IEP. And like I said, the lens that you'll be wearing when you're reading all this information is, what does the law say? So what are the requirements? What does the law require? And just so you know, when you start teaching, you are required to follow these laws. Even if you may not remember or forgot something, ignorance of the law does not give you an exemption. So just because you don't know doesn't mean that you're forgiven from it. So make sure you pay close attention to these items. Chapter 11 gets into the least restrictive environment, or what we call the LRE. And this is where students are placed in the classroom. So generally speaking, the least restrictive environment is the general education classroom. And then they get more restrictive as we progress through, if you look at the spectrum. So you'll see that in Chapter 11. And then we get into our final week, which is week 4. And there are quite a few, there are 2 major assignments in week 4 that you may want to look ahead as soon as you can to these. Chapter 12 gets to talking about procedural safeguards and talks about our due process and things like that. Chapter 13 gets into discipline with students with disabilities. And discipline is different. We have to discipline students with disabilities differently than we do students who do not have disabilities. So make sure you pay attention to that. Chapter 14 kind of gets into some other things. The main thing that I really want you to pull out of Chapter 14 has to do with bullying. And as you know, bullying is a huge topic, especially cyberbullying. And especially for students with disabilities. So we're going to have a paper you're going to have to write over that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then our final is we're actually going to have to look at Indiana state law. So it's called Article 7, but I'll click on here and we'll. So in the bullying, you're actually going to have to write a paper that where I want you to talk about, you'll see here, we'll write a paper about bullying students with disabilities in the classroom and cyberbullying, and we'll discuss the legal issues and law. The paper is based on extensive research into existing research on the laws regarding bullying, including cyberbullying for Indiana and federal law, and thoroughly discussing the implications of bullying with students. So you also will want to include suggestions for teachers and schools for anti-bullying. You have to have at least 3 references from the website, and I give you a website here. But to talk about those kinds of, and I think there is a, let's see if I can, the rubric is here. Yeah, so here's the rubric as well, so you can look at the rubric for the grading criteria, which will give you a little more. So I really want you to research what laws are out there for bullying and cyberbullying here in Indiana. Are there any federal laws? What's being passed? What's in the works? What does the research recommend? Because there are some places that don't have laws passed. What is considered bullying? What is considered cyberbullying? Because everybody has a different definition. So really looking at that, but like I said, through the eyes of your population will be students with disabilities. And I give you some information here on how to use Google Scholar to look up resources. Your references and citations need to be done in APA, so I'll give you some information on how to do APA here. But you will have to do a peer review. So on that Thursday, you'll need to post a peer review to the discussion board. So this discussion board here, this is the one I was talking about the one time we will use it. It's for a paper. So you will post your rough draft there, and then you will need to select one of your classmates' paper and provide a critique for them. Read through it, ask questions. Is it formatted correctly? What is the grammar? Are there content things? Is the flow? Is there a beginning, middle, and end? Those kinds of things, and you'll provide that within Blackboard on the discussion board, and you'll give that back to them by the next day on that Friday, and that way you'll have time to make any adjustments, and then it will be due on Sunday. And then you will have to do you're going to have to go through and look at Article 7, which is Indiana state law. And you will do a state law presentation. I have specific questions here that you need to answer, and I have a specific format of how the slides need to be listed. So there's going to be 8 slides. And then here are the different questions that I want. And this is the one where when you submit this, do not click share with class, because you don't want anybody to take your answers. So you don't want to do all that work and then share it with the class, and then someone can just come and copy your work. So you do not want this to be shared. So you'll just hit submit assignment, but do not share. And this one is due that Sunday as well. So those 2 big assignments due on Sunday. Now this state law one, you can start working on that now. You can start looking at Article 7. A lot of these things here that we're talking about, we're going to be talking about throughout the weeks. You just need to go and look at Article 7. What does Article 7 say? So you can actually start on this one now. And that is our course in a gist. So now I'm going to answer any questions you may have. If you've got questions about any assignments, you've looked over the course calendar, you're not for sure what I mean. A lot of times, most weeks you have VoiceThread discussions, except for week 1 and week 2, you do have a case study. Week 3 is all VoiceThread discussion board. And then week 4, you do have the peer review, the paper, and the presentation. If you're a graduate student, you also have to write a paper over state law, and those directions are in there as well. So questions? No questions? All right then. Well, that will conclude our meeting today. I will post this on the information on week 1, so anybody that didn't see this can watch this. Like I said, if you ever have any questions or concerns or anything, let me know. Also, the quizzes, they will not show you your answers until after everybody's taken the quiz. And there are quite a few multiple selects, so there are like multiple answers that are correct, and it will tell you, you know, check all that apply. A lot of times people will miss those because they didn't collect. Everyone they collect is correct, but there may have been 1 or 2 more that were correct as well, so it will count you off on that. So sometimes if you see those, but you know, if you want to question any of them, just let me know. Okay, well, that's it for today. Like I said, let me know if you have any questions, and I will see y'all later. Bye.